Bonjour. Welcome to this session, part 2, looking at fruits and vegetables, likes and shopping. So here's another warm-up. This time we're looking at vegetables, still focusing on reading, but this time looking at description. So if you can write down numbers 1 to 5, 1 à 5, écrivez 1 à 5, and see if you can note down the English vegetable. Notez le légume en anglais. Alors, numéro 1, un concombre. C'est vert et long. Qu'est-ce que c'est? C'est vert et long. Numéro 2, une carotte. C'est orange et croquant. C'est orange et croquant. Numéro 3, une tomate. C'est rouge, petit, rond et doux. C'est rouge, petit, rond et doux. Numéro 4, un poivron. C'est vert, orange ou rouge. C'est vert, orange ou rouge. Numéro 5, la laitue ou la salade, c'est vert. C'est vert. Now, you might have found that easy, or maybe it was a wee bit tricky. If I was doing this with a group of learners, to make it a bit easier, what I'd probably do first of all is to do a bit of a brainstorm about vocabulary for vegetables in English first of all. What do we like? What do we normally eat? And get those either written up on the board or just as an oral discussion. And that gets the learners thinking about the sorts of vocabulary that it might be. Then what I might do is, if I needed to, I might have the English words for the actual answers up on the board, just in the wrong order, and that would provide a bit of extra support. And I might also get learners to think about how we would describe things in English and almost play a guessing game in English, or describe something and revise colours, because that's key for this. If you don't know your colours, you're going to really struggle. The whole idea is that children are language detectives. They're using cognates or words like English to help them work out words that they don't know. And they're trying to guess using logic. I might hand this out if I had it as a written text, or I might project it on the board and either highlight with a board pen or actual pens different types of words. So maybe getting the learners to focus on descriptive words, adjectives, colours, size words, words they don't know, nouns. And then that can get you into all sorts of discussions about, well, how do we know it's a noun? Because it starts with an or an une or a le or a la. It's got an article in front of it, a or the. How do we know it's an adjective? Because it comes after the word it is, or in a phrase to do with it is. So, those are just some simple kind of ideas to help you into it. So if you hadn't already guessed, number 1 was a cucumber. Sounds quite similar. Hopefully the learners would get long is long, referring to size, and they should know the colour green. Number 2, carrot, looks like the word carrot, carrot, very similar. And hopefully they would get orange, that would be a big giveaway. Croquant, meaning, any ideas? Crunchy. So again, I might refer to the fact that it had to feel in your mouth, they were crunchy. Numéro 3, une tomate looks like tomato. Hopefully they would get the word red, rouge. Size word, petit, you might have already done that. This vocabulary does come up from sort of P2, I would say. P1 for colours, P2 looking at size. Rond, referring to the shape of it. If you say that, they'll probably get round. And doux can either refer to the touch, it's soft, or it's pleasant tasting. It's sort of sweet, gentle, if you like, the idea of, gentle in your mouth. It's nice. Numéro 4, une poivron. Poivron. So it's looking at the colours, green, orange, and red. So what vegetable can be green, orange, and red? And then hopefully they would get that it's a pepper. And lastly, what vegetable is green and looks and sounds like the word that we've got there? Salad. Salad or lettuce. Excellent. Now I've put a little bit of a grammar tip here just for you. So we've got the articles there, the indefinite article, and it's masculine if it's un, and feminine, une. So that's how we would say a cucumber, a carrot. But you're not going to eat a whole cucumber, okay? So the children wouldn't say I eat a cucumber. They would say I eat a piece of cucumber, or I eat some cucumber. So the word for some here changes depending on whether the word is masculine, feminine, starting with a vowel or an H. So you can see here the different words. Du, de la, des, and de l'apostrophe. Apologies, there's a mistake here. It should be de la, not fe, but de. Okay, so you can have a play around with that. How would you say, I eat some carrot, I eat some lettuce? See if you can work that out. Okay, so once we've looked at the topic of food, then we might like to try to use it on a more regular basis with daily routines. So we could ask children what they're having for lunch. Qu'est-ce que vous, all of you, qu'est-ce que vous mangez? Plural, vous, you, plural. Or qu'est-ce que tu manges? What are you eating? Just one child if you're asking one learner. Notice how the verb changes from manger, vous mangez, EZ sound, A, and to mange, ES. Doesn't matter too much about the spelling of it in terms of writing, but when you're saying it, it does sound different, okay? Qu'est-ce que vous mangez? Qu'est-ce que tu manges? Je mange, I am eating. Opinions, we might like to ask children whether they like it or not. C'est bon? C'est bon? Oui ou non, c'est bon? It could be very simple, oui ou non. C'est mauvais? C'est mauvais, it's bad. So c'est bon, bon being good, and c'est mauvais, it's bad. C'est mauvais, and they go, oui, c'est mauvais, ou non, ce n'est pas mauvais, c'est bon, non, c'est bon. So you can do a sort of, divide the class walls into two, good and bad. You could say a fruit or a vegetable, and the children could move to the corner of the wall, to the wall that's appropriate. So c'est bon. Un concombre, c'est bon. And if the children think it's good, they can move to that wall. You might ask them what their school lunches are. Picnic, or la cantine. So notice how I'm keeping it there just as a single word, just trying to show you how you can simplify it. Le pique-nique, just make your voice go up and it makes it a question. Or la cantine. Looking at the colour choices. So in Highland for our menus, we've got different colours. So you could simply ask the children what colour they're having if they're eating in the canteen. Choix, the choice, rouge, vert or bleu. Okay, rouge, vert or bleu. And then they can tell you what colour they are. With old learners, you might actually want to start to look at the detail of the menu, and you might want to think about what's actually on it. So le poisson ou un sandwich. You might not go through the whole menu for the day, but you might just use the key words. And again, just make your voice go up to make it a question. Now, all the menus for Highland are translated into French, and if you click on the link here, you'll go to the catering school menus website, and you'll see the download for the menu in French. It's a good idea to try to have that available, print it off and share it with learners. So I've already briefly mentioned verbs, and the way that they end is different. like in that question, are you, all of you, what are you eating? And what are you, one person, eating? So verbs have different endings, just like they do in English, depending on who is speaking. It's just that in English, it's not as obvious as it is in French, and it's not as complicated. So I eat, but he eats. The verb changes, it's got an S at the end. So in French, we have different types of verbs. We have 3 key families. The most common family of verbs that end in ER, like manger. The ER is at the end. That shows us it's part of the ER verb. And that's what we call the infinitive. The infinitive is the verb before we make any changes to it, and it means to eat. And it's what you would find in the dictionary. And here I've just put in a couple of the verb forms, the common ones that you would need. So je mange, I eat. Tu manges, you, one person. Or you, an informal, somebody that you know, a friend, for instance, eats. Il or elle mange, he or she or it eats. And vous mangez, all of you in the class, vous mangez. And also used for something that's formal, if you're speaking to somebody you don't know, or somebody that's a lot older than you and you're wanting to show respect. Notice that the je, tu, and il and elle forms all sound the same. Je mange, tu manges, il and elle mange. Vous mangez sounds different. Okay, and with learners, I would bring that up if it becomes relevant and they're writing it, or they're hearing it, or they're asking questions about it, but it's not something you have to formally teach with younger learners. It just becomes more important as they go up the school. I've put a selection of other resources here. If you want worksheets, then Lightbulb Languages has loads available. BBC Virtually There has some lovely little sound clips, somebody making a pizza party, a little video with different toppings for his pizza. BBC Radio Labo is a podcast, like a radio show, and it's got a good little song. And BBC Class Clips, there's a little animation, Not Again Farley, which is bilingual, so your learners might enjoy that. The Highland Council SharePoint site has a lot of good resources bringing in cooperative learning for food. There's an early animated French story for lower down the school, sort of early and first level, with a PDF file for teachers' notes. So it's like an ebook. It's a little animation. And BBC Class Clips has the story Annecy and Turtle. They've got it in English, but they've also got it in French. And it's got food in it. It's not just about food, but it's a 5-minute animation, which is quite nice to watch, maybe as a stimulus for doing another story. So that brings us up to looking at stories. So I'd like you to have a think about why you might use a story in the languages classroom, what stories you might use, not just at early level, but all the way through. How could you use picture books? How could you use a story that's focused on food? And what books do you like using that are to do with food? So I have some favourites. I like, for instance, The Hungry Caterpillar to revise days of the week and some food. I also really like the book The Tiger Who Came to Tea, because it's got food in it as well as other things. And it's a good book to read in English and then to revise some vocabulary in French. So those are probably two of my favourites. Power Language has a lovely story about Camille, a little girl who goes to market and what she buys. It's very similar to Jacques Le Gourmand, another story that you can find online. And every day of the week, she buys something different from the market. Again, sort of based on The Hungry Caterpillar, but a good way to revise days of the week. And also numbers. You might want to have a wee look at it and think about how you would use it with your class. When I'm doing it with my class, I like to get the children to sort of join in with the story because it's got a repetitive structure. I like to get them counting. and I like to use it to revise different colours. Another thing that I do is to hand props out, whether that be flashcards or the actual fruit. And then when that word is said, the children have to put their flashcard up. When you've got a story, it's great to do some sequencing activities. And here's an example that's from Power Language. So here are some different pictures, and the children have to put the card in the right order to retell the story. So once you've done the story, you can see if the learners can remember it, and then you can see if the learners can remember the sort of prompts or the keywords that would go with each of these stories. And that might be a one word, like une orange, or it might be Camille mange une orange. And that could be the basis for children then creating their own story. Following on from a story, what you might like to do is a shopping role play, because that whole story is set on the idea of going to the market. So here's a sort of a text, and you can see the two people, A and B, and the children can use this to help them see the going backwards and forwards of a dialogue. It's a good thing perhaps to model with the class using, for instance, a puppet. Bonjour. Bonjour. Je voudrais 2 pommes, s'il vous plaît. Voilà, 2 pommes. Merci. C'est combien? 2 €, s'il vous plaît. Voilà, 2 €. Merci, au revoir. Au revoir. So you can see the text there for children that are reading it, modelling it out loud. This could then be a support that's on the board or on a wall, and then children can work together to create their own dialogue. You could also underline the things that children perhaps would change so that they can make their own dialogue up when they're confident. It's also a good opportunity to revise other languages they know, like merci, au revoir, bonjour, and also to bring in the concept of euros, and that different countries have different currencies, and share that with them and show them a euro. If I'm doing a role-playing class, here are some sort of different ways of getting into a role play. So a sort of warm-up activity, looking at pictures of markets in France or a video. There's one in Power Language. Playing the games to revise the vocabulary with fruit and vegetables and things they might buy. You could listen to a story, as we've already done. Role play, then you might get them to actually match up the written words with the English or order it and sequence it. You might use building blocks of Post-its, create a role play area in your classroom to encourage them to do it. You might record them, whether that's a voice recorder or a video, or just get them to present it to the rest of the class. And always thinking about how we support them, whether with verbal or non-verbal clues or with the text. And it's a lovely thing to share with parents and celebrate what the children have done at the end of that sort of topic of work. So in these 2 videos, part 1 and part 2, I've gone through loads of different activities, and I think I've talked through all of them. Perhaps the only ones that I haven't talked to is right at the end, and that's using apps like Picolage, and getting the children to have photos of things that they like, that they don't like, fruit and vegetables, or putting together photos to make a story up and using the app Picolage to present that. And then that could be the prompt for writing or presentation. And that's a good end of unit kind of holistic assessment as well. Okay, so as a plenary, I would like you to see if you can come up with some sort of game or activity using the fruit or the vegetables that you're going to try in your class and have a go. So, bonne chance, merci, Au revoir.